My wife and her lover tried to steal my family fortune while I was mourning my parents. Now they're broke, jobless, and facing jail. I'm Aaron, 30M, and I'm just going to try putting it all down here. For as long as I can remember, my so-called friends were only close to me because, in their eyes, I was the trust fund baby. They always tried to cozy up to me, assuming I'd be hosting extravagant parties around the world or paying for drinks at every event. But the moment they realized I wasn't that kind of person, they drifted away. It's true my parents set up a large trust fund for me, but I've always been aware of how hard they worked to build their wealth. I know it didn't happen overnight, and I know one wrong decision could destroy my father's entire business. That's why I put in the effort every single day to grow what he started. But recently, I came dangerously close to making the kind of mistake that could have ruined everything. Her name was Ashley, the love of my life. My wife, Ashley 28F. All through college, I stayed away from dating. I'm not the type to hook up casually or jump from one relationship to another. I've always believed in dating to marry. But once word got out about my parents' fortune, I started attracting all the wrong kinds of attention. When you have money, people suddenly want to be around you not for who you are, but for what you can offer. I did lend some money here and there. I sponsored a few party drinks. But I never went over the top, never turned into the trust fund baby people expected me to be. I believe moderation is important being social matters too. So, I made an effort to stay in everyone's good books, even if I rarely trusted anyone. Deeply done. Then came graduation night. That's when I met Ashley. She didn't seem to recognize me, which was refreshing. We started talking casually, and we hit it off right away. We exchanged numbers, and our first date was at McDonald's, and we had an amazing time. She didn't care that it wasn't fancy, and that's when I fell for her. Ashley was my first love. She was fun, easygoing, and didn't try to impress me. She was just herself, smart too. With her, I felt normal, as if she saw me, not my bank account. After a month of dating, I introduced her to my parents. She didn't act surprised by our lifestyle. She accepted the wealth with complete neutrality, and at the time, I saw that as a green flag. I thought it meant money didn't affect how she saw me. What I didn't realize then was that she probably wasn't surprised at AAG, because she already knew everything about me. She likely knew I wasn't dating anyone, and winning me over was part of a carefully planned strategy. Ashley was grace and charm during that first meeting with my parents. I was completely smitten. She was the first woman I'd ever brought home. My parents were thrilled. We dated for a full year, and throughout that time, she refused any expensive gifts I tried to give. Her reason: we weren't married yet. I proposed to her after a year. She was sweet to my parents. She told them she had only one request, that they never ask her to quit working. She wanted to contribute and help grow the family fortune. My mother hugged her, saying how happy she was that I'd found someone so supportive. Ashley worked in IT and had a solid career of her own. On our second anniversary, my parents hosted a celebration. There they announced a gift for Ashley. They wanted to name her as a beneficiary of the trust fund, alongside me. They introduced her to everyone, including Rob the trustee. He was an accountant who handled all the legal and financial matters for the fund. Rob was married, and his wife was a lawyer at the same firm. Everything seemed perfect. Ashley's name was officially added as a beneficiary. She bonded closely with my parents, always going the extra mile to keep them happy. She also traveled frequently for work. Later, I would learn that these trips were often with her affair partner. Whenever my parents threw parties, Ashley never missed a chance to attend. She always looked stunning. Too many times, I caught her in the corner with Rob, laughing, blushing, sipping wine a little too flirtatiously. And I, blind and madly in love, every red flag, as naive as I was. It never once crossed my mind that Ashley could be cheating on me with Rob. But the truth was, they'd been having an affair. Behind my back, all along. Looking back now, I'm shocked at how good Ashley was at hiding it. She was a master manipulator. She treated each of us so perfectly that the idea of ever doubting her felt blasphemous. But all she had really been doing was biding her time. Nearly 7 years into our marriage, both of my parents passed away just 6 months apart. I buried myself in work because I couldn't deal with the flood of emotions while also keeping the company afloat. That's when Ashley's real self finally started to emerge. After the funerals, she became cold and distant. I assumed she was processing the loss in her own way and gave her space. She didn't say a single word about my parents or ask how I was holding up. I found it odd, but I blamed myself for not being open about my own grief either. 2 weeks later, I decided to come home early from work and talk to her. On the way, I picked up a bouquet of pink roses, her favorite. I used my key to let myself in, only to find Rob standing in the living room. Confused, I asked if he had come to discuss something about the trust fund. That's when Ashley stepped out from behind, him carrying 2 suitcases. I then noticed Rob had 2 bags with him as well. Ashley looked at me and casually said, "Oh, damn. I was hoping to do this quietly. I meant to leave you a note letting you know I'm moving out, but I guess we're doing this face to face now. So yeah, I'm leaving you. Yup, you heard that right. And yeah, I'm moving in with Rob. After we got back from Italy, your parents made sure I had enough money to live comfortably. So we're getting a divorce. Rob's filing too." She glanced at the flowers in my hand and added, "Are those for me? I'll take them, thanks. Ciao." Before I could utter a word, they were gone. I heard the engine start and then silence. Just like that, my wife of 8 years walked out of my life. You know that expression about your world crashing down? That's exactly what it felt like. For 2 days, I didn't leave the house. I didn't open the blinds. I lived off leftovers and cup noodles. I left the TV on because the silence terrified me. I didn't even have the energy to shower. On the 3rd day, someone rang the doorbell. I figured if I ignored it, they'd go away. But the ringing didn't stop. In fact, it got more aggressive. After 10 minutes of non-stop buzzing, there was banging on the door too. Then I heard a woman's voice shout, "I know you're in there. Open up right now. I'm not leaving until we talk." For a moment, I thought it was Ashley, but then I remembered she was off vacationing in Italy with Rob. That thought brought a fresh wave of sadness crashing over me. Still, the knocking persisted. I dragged myself out of bed and reluctantly made my way to the door. Standing there was a red-haired woman in a sharp 2-piece suit. She looked like she could snap me in half. "Your wife ran off with my husband," she barked. "Sitting here like a sad little puppy isn't going to help anyone. Now go shower. Meet me in the living room in 15 minutes. We've got a lot to talk about." When I didn't move, she walked right past me into the house, stared me down, and said, "You stink." As I trudged toward the bathroom, I muttered, "Okay, Mom," under my breath. I heard that she yelled back. Despite myself, I cracked a smile. For the first time in days, I felt a little more human. After my shower, I returned to the living room to find it spotless. Even the kitchen had been cleaned. The woman introduced herself as Sandra, Rob's wife. She told me she'd been trying to reach me at the office for 2 days but hadn't been able to get through. So she finally decided to come to my house. She was all business. I could barely believe what I was hearing. Sandra explained that, like me, she had no clue Rob was cheating until 2 days ago. When he suddenly left their house and said he'd have his assistant collect the rest of his things, her world shattered just like mine. But unlike me, Sandra didn't crumble. She started digging. The first thing Sandra did was dig into Rob's laptop. He kept all his work files there, but he'd also left his Facebook logged in. She didn't. Waste a second one through his messages and uncovered everything. She found out exactly who he was cheating with. Once she confirmed it, she pounced like a hawk. She also combed through every document tied to my trust fund. And she was almost certain Rob had been stealing money for personal use. He started small, just enough to go unnoticed, but eventually he got bold and careless. Why? Because he had help. And that help came from one of the beneficiaries. Ashley, as much as I wanted to believe Sandra was wrong, I couldn't. She had receipts proof, documents, everything. She was dead serious and fully prepared to take both of them down. I was still on the fence when Sandra said, "I have a daughter. I'm going to wring every last cent out of Rob, and I'm going to wreck Ashley. I don't care what you do, I just thought you should know. You don't have to get involved." But the fire in her eyes, the sheer resolve in her voice, I knew I could trust her. I agreed. We shook hands, and as my ex-wife was sipping wine on the Amalfi Coast, Sandra and I were plotting a move that would ruin her world. Ashley and Rob came back from their 10-day Italy trip. Sandra and I had been waiting for that day, curious too. See how they'd react when reality smacked them in the face. It was a Monday. I was at work when Ashley called. The moment I answered, she exploded. "What the hell is going on? What does Rob mean we're in trouble? And where's my money?" I replied, "You mean my parents' money? The money Rob was using to buy you gifts, and probably that apartment you two are living in. I hope you've spoken to my lawyer. And by the way, it's Sandra, Rob's wife. She works at the same firm." I hung up before she could say a word. When I got off work that evening, Ashley was waiting outside. I tried to walk past her, heading toward my car, but she stepped in my way. In all the years I knew her, I'd never seen her this frazzled. She begged me to explain everything because Rob's anxious breakdown made no sense to her. She needed it in simple terms. So, I laid it out. I told her her lawyer should have already informed her that the divorce was underway and that she wasn't getting a single penny. The look on her face was priceless. I don't think she could have imagined this outcome, not even in her worst nightmares. I watched the panic slowly take over, and I'll admit for a split second, I felt a twisted satisfaction. But then came a flood of guilt. I still loved her, despite everything. And seeing her like that hurt. I knew I had to leave before she could manipulate me again. I brushed past her and walked toward my car. She screamed after me, begging me to stop. The last thing I heard before closing the door was, "How could you do this to me?" It hit me like a dagger. I wanted to scream back. I could ask you the same damn thing, but I didn't. I just drove off. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing there, frozen, utterly shocked. Meanwhile, Rob had been served notice he was being terminated. His scandal was tarnishing the company's reputation. Word had already leaked, and clients were calling nonstop to cancel contracts. The company had no choice but to cut ties. Damage control. Sandra, with her network of lawyer friends, hired a powerhouse attorney. She was confident she'd win the case and full custody. As I drove home, Sandra kept texting me updates. I felt lighter with every message. I got home and started writing all of this down. My run-in with Ashley had left me anxious and sleepless. I just needed to let it out. Do you think I went too hard on Ashley? Hi everyone, I'm back with an update. It's been a week. Thank you all for the support. Seriously, thank you for lifting me up when I felt lost and overwhelmed. I had my first therapy session this week. I even showed my therapist this Reddit post. He said it's a healthy way to process things. He told me it's completely normal to grieve someone you loved. Ashley, in my case, So the flood of emotions I've been feeling since dropping that bomb. Totally expected. Here's what happened this week. Ashley called me again, but this time her tone was completely different, soft, almost as if she'd been crying. She gently asked if I'd had dinner yet, and when I said no, she offered to come over and cook for me. I was caught off guard and didn't respond right away, but she must have taken my silence as a yes, because she immediately said she'd be at my house in 30 minutes. That snapped me out of it. I finally found my voice and told her no, absolutely not. I said, "Are you serious? After everything you've done, you want to come over, make dinner, and pretend everything's fine?" She replied, "Baby, no. I know things have been rough, but we can talk." I lost it. I shouted, "You call what you did rough. It was cruel. It was selfish. It was evil. Don't ever show your face to me again. What the hell is wrong with you?" Her next words made me sick. She told me to stop overreacting. That was the moment everything shifted. Until then, guilt had been eating at me. I hated hurting her, even after everything she'd done. But in that moment, I saw her for who she is. Truly was a woman who felt no remorse and would absolutely do it all again. That call was nothing more than an attempt to manipulate me. Still oblivious. She kept rambling about how I was making her look like a gold digger in the lawsuit even, though she had a job and made her own money. I wanted to remind her that I had paid off all her student loans, and if she was living comfortably, it was because of my family's money. She claimed the only reason she wanted to come over was to talk and maybe reconcile. She even asked me to withdraw the lawsuit because it was pointless. I asked, "What about Rob?" She casually said Rob was just someone who brought a change to her dull life. She blamed me for being away for work too often, said I lacked passion, and accused me of punishing her with a lawsuit instead of apologizing. Her nerve was unbelievable. I told her if she had problems, we could have gone to therapy or talked it through. Cheating was never the solution. She brushed it off and kept insisting on coming over. I ended the call and rang Sandra. I told her everything. She listened calmly, then said, "Call her back. Invite her over. Let's see what she's really after." I agreed. When I called Ashley again, she picked up smugly like she'd already won. She said she knew I'd come around and promised to be there in 30 minutes. Sandra arrived before I grinned Ashley and quickly instructed me to seat Ashley in the dining room. She said she'd handle the rest and would make a special appearance in our little drama. I had no idea what her plan was, but there wasn't time to ask. Ashley arrived about 40 minutes later, clearly dressed to impress. She looked great. No doubt, she walked in, kissed me, and made her way toward the bedroom. I stopped her and asked her to sit in the dining room. She turned, pouted, and said, "Why, sweetheart? Did I lose my rights so easily? Was your love so weak? Won't you fight for us, baby?" Right then, Sandra stepped out of the bedroom. Ashley froze. She stammered, "What the hell?" Sandra gave her a calm, mocking smile and said, "Ah, finally. The woman's sleeping with my sorry excuse of a husband, Rob. And yes, you did lose. You're right to that bedroom." Ashley spun on me. "How could you replace me so quickly? You're sleeping with Rob's wife now, after taking everything from me after ruining us. We had debts. Now we won't even get the damn trust fund. Rob's lost his job. I might lose mine. You're just ... selfish." Sandra jumped in. "Wait, what do you mean you had debts? Like joint debts? Were you helping Rob withdraw money from the trust fund?" "Miss Beneficiary Level Access," Ashley, snapped and shouted. "Hell yeah, I was. I've supported Rob since day one." "Do you think he could have pulled this off alone?" Ashley snapped. "Course I helped him. Unlike you, you evil. Which always treating him like crap. That's why he chose me over you. Sandra stayed calm as Ashley ranted. How can you even show your face here when your husband's out of a job? Why don't you give a statement in his favor and help him for once? Sandra simply smiled and turned to me. I think it's time to send Ashley home. The job's done. I got the message. I opened the door and stood aside. Ashley stormed out, hurling abuse at both of us. Once she was gone, I turned to Sandra and asked, what just happened? Sandra pressed stop on her phone recorder and winked. Her eyes sparkled. We got a confession, Aaron. We're going to ruin them. I told you why I'm not letting either of them escape this. And that's Sandra for you, smart, ruthless, and absolutely terrifying if you're on the wrong side. If I were Ashley or Rob, I'd be shaking. She's just that good. Before heading out, Sandra admitted it was her who leaked the news about Rob. I told her she was rubbing off on me. I'd suspected her already. She just grinned. So yeah, the game's on. And I'll keep you all posted. Back with an update, maybe a little too soon, but I couldn't wait to share this. Sandra is a savage. She sent the audio recording to Ashley's company, along with a detailed note explaining everything. In it, she warned that someone capable of such deception wasn't trustworthy enough to be handling company resources. She hinted that Ashley could easily embezzle funds if given the chance. Sandra also knew one of the business partners in Ashley's firm, an old friend. That friend immediately pulled out of a deal, stating concerns about certain team members' credibility. Ashley's boss was furious. To save the deal, they made a snap decision. They fired Ashley. Just like that. Both Ashley and Rob are unemployed and swimming in debt. Sandra told me Rob had been calling her non-stop. When she didn't answer, he started texting her obsessively. She blocked him, honestly. I'm starting to enjoy this a little. My therapy sessions are helping too. My therapist joked that Ashley could be a textbook case of narcissism. I laughed. I laughed freely for the first time in a while. Oh. And did I mention? Rob was taken into custody recently. Ashley had to raid her savings to bail him out. Talk about karma. By 4 now, more updates soon. This morning, Sandra called furious. Apparently, Rob showed up at her door early in the morning, completely drunk. He rang the bell repeatedly and hurled insults at her. Her security camera caught the whole thing. When Sandra told him to leave, he tried to force his way in. He only backed off when she threatened to call the cops. The worst part? Their daughter Emily witnessed everything. The noise woke her up. She saw her father drunk, screaming, trying to break into the house. She's been traumatized since. Divorce is hard on kids, but this is next level. Emily hasn't left her room since it happened. Sandra had to go file a restraining order and couldn't find a babysitter last minute, so she called me. I told her not to worry and called in sick to work. When I got there, Sandra was already heading out. She told me Emily hadn't even eaten and asked me to make sure she had something if she came out. After she left, I knocked on Emily's door. No response. I don't know why, but I started to feel panicked. The silence was deafening, and my mind raced to worst-case scenarios. I couldn't just sit there. I grabbed a pin and unlocked the door. At first, I thought the room was empty. I was breathing hard, heart racing. Then I saw a tiny movement. Emily was hiding under the bed. A little girl, maybe 3 or 4 years old, who looked just like her mother. Except for her hair, lighter than Sandra's, Emily looked just like her mom. But her eyes were filled with pure fear as she stared at me. She stuttered as she asked, "Are you my dad's friend? Did he send you?" I knelt beside her and gently introduced myself. I told her I wasn't there on behalf of her dad, was actually her mom's friend. She visibly relaxed a little at that. She glanced nervously toward the window and asked, "Is my dad gone?" I nodded and said, "Yes. Your mom is like a tigress. She protect her cub no matter what." That's when she broke down in tears. Between sobs, she told me how scared she was that Rob would come back and hurt her mother. I promised her that wouldn't happen. Not on my watch. My heart ached for her. This little girl hadn't just lost her father, she'd witnessed firsthand what a terrible man he truly was. I gently coaxed her out from under the bed, helped her pick a Disney movie to watch, and warmed up some lasagna. She sat beside me and ate quietly. Sandra later told me that when she returned, she found Emily fast asleep on my chest, drooling into her favorite pillow, completely at peace. That night, as I was about to leave, Emily clung to my legs, refusing to let me go. She kept crying and said she was afraid Rob might come backhand. There'd be no one to protect her mom. I tried to joke, saying her mom didn't need protecting. But Sandra rolled her eyes, and I shut up immediately. There's no easy way to explain restraining orders to a child, so I just decided to stay the night. Emily slept peacefully. So did I. The next morning, Sandra made amazing pancakes, and I left directly for work. Before I walked out, Emily made me promise I'd come back and stay again. So yeah, I guess that's my life, now spending nights at Sandra's. Been trying to find a good child psychologist for Emily, but so far, no luck. I'll update you all again after the first court hearing. OK-few. It's been a while since I last posted, hasn't it? Well, the first hearing is done. And from what a regular guy like me can tell, Ashley and Rob are absolutely cooked. Yeah, I mean barbecued, charred. Done for the evidence we have is overwhelming. It's practically an open and shut case. Of course, court proceedings take time, so this might still drag on a bit. Sandra thinks it won't take more than 6 months though, and she's confident both of them will do jail time. As for the divorce, Ashley and Rob won't see a single penny. Rob's also been ordered to pay child support. Ironically, neither of them has been able to find proper work. I heard Rob finally landed a gig, as a janitor at a local club. And get this, outside the courthouse, we saw Rob getting roughed up by loan sharks. Things are spiraling for him. He's finished. When he saw Sandra outside court, he ran straight to her, fell at her feet, and begged her to take him back. Yeah, no, we're way past that. Sandra's lawyer told us the case is so firmly in her favor that Rob won't even get visitation rights.